factoring. So obviously I have put an equation up here. This is just a binomial. So we know that the first, okay, let's just make our parentheses. We know that the first number here has to equal this number. So we know that 3 times 3 is the only combination for 9. But we also know that 9 times 1 is the only combination. But since this is a difference of squares, we can only make them equal. So 3 by 3 would be the best option because 9 and 1 are not the same number. So we're going to put 3x and 3x here. There should be a review, so I won't go too in depth. And then we know that 5 times 5 is 25 because that's the square root. So then we're going to add 5 and subtract 5 because if we added both sides or subtracted both sides by 5, then we would have a middle number right here with the coefficient of x, but we do not. So that's how we would factor this first one. Okay, now I've written down this expression. So let's try simplifying it and making it simpler. So we have 2t plus 8 over 4t. So we know that we can take the 2 out of this expression. So we're going to do 2 times t plus 4 over 4t. And that's our final expression. And next problem is 8x minus 1 yz over 4x y negative 2 times x. So we know that right off the bat that 8 and 4 cancel. Well, they reduce. So we can do 2, and then we can put the x down here because it's a negative. So we leave the y and the z on top, and we do y squared y to the negative 2 times z. And now that this y to the negative 2, for the same reason, will go back up because it's a negative number. So we do 2 y to the third z over x squared y, actually no y, just z. And we know these z's cancel, which leaves us with 2y power 3 over x squared. Now we're going to apply some knowledge that we just covered in the previous example. So we have x plus 4 over x squared minus 16. So now we can see that the numerator cannot be further simplified or reduced. So we move on to the denominator. See, now I can tell that this is a difference of squares because of the x squared, and we know that the square root of 16 is 4. So we can do x minus 4, x plus 4. And we also know because we don't have that middle number. So we can just cancel these, which leaves us with 1 over x minus 4. Okay. So we're going to do a little bit of a jump to a new problem. And this one has polynomials on the top and the bottom. So this equation is 2x squared plus 10x over 3x squared plus 16x plus 5. Pause and try it yourself. Okay. So the top is not at its fully simplified form yet because we can see there's an x right here, an x right here, 2 that goes into a 10. So that can be taken out from the equation and put on the side. So we go down and we do 2x parentheses x, because 2x times x is 2x squared, plus 5, because 2x times 5 is 10x, which is what we had on the top. Now on the bottom, we can't really take anything out, so we can just do the old-fashioned factoring method. I like to start off with my parentheses. Okay, so we know that 3 is a prime number, so it only has 3 and 1. 3 and 1 and itself. So we already know that 3x would be one of these and x would be the other one, because there's no other factors for 3. So we know this has to be multiplied together by the two numbers, and this has to be added. So we know that 5 can only be multiplied by 5 and 1 because it's also a prime number. So, and since this is 16, we can assume that this is 5 and this would be 1. And because these are both addition signs, we know that the sign will be consistently a plus. Because if there was negative, this would be a negative sign. But it's not. So we know that this is correct. Now we cancel the x plus 5, which leaves us with 2x over 3x plus 1. And that is correct. Now we are going to... Okay, so we have a sum of cubes right here and a difference of cubes right here. Actually, let me write that down. And a sum of cubes. So we know that this would be x minus 1 on the top for the numerator, because these, like, we just take the cube out and we have the numbers without them. We have to just cube root it by 3, so we get that number. Okay, and then we do this number squared, which is x squared. And then these two numbers combine, which is negative x, but then, negative x, but then you change the sign, it's plus x. And then you square root negative 1. Okay, and then we do the same thing on the bottom, but this time it's negative x plus 1 squared. So now we simplify that further, and we know that this x squared plus x minus 1, and this is x plus 1, x squared minus x plus 1. So this cannot be simplified further. This is the most it can be simplified, because even if you try to factor it, like x minus 1, x minus 1, you would not be getting this. You would get negative 2x for here. So this is unfactorable. So that's how you know you're done factoring. So this is the final equation. Okay, I hope you guys learned something. Bye.